Hi, hello. We are out here in the Bower because I figured this would be the perfect place to film the review of the next book that I read, which was again a patron suggestion. I'm catching up finally on patron suggestions. If you want to suggest a book for me to read and review, you can. There's a level for that on Patreon. You can boss me around. And the only thing that I kind of require is that the book that you want me to read has an audiobook because I have a new job where I can listen to audiobooks, and it's a really great way for me to catch up on my reading. I sit outside and immediately trucks are going by making all the noise in the world. It's great. It's great. I love it. So, what book was that I just read? That is An Enchantment of Ravens, which has been on my radar for a while, but I keep thinking maybe I'll read it and then being like, oh no, what's this? I'm very distracted. I'm so easily distracted by shiny things. It's real bad. Possibly I am a fairy. In fact, probably. This book has been around for ages, but we are just getting to it now. Let's go ahead and read the blurb from Goodreads. Every enchantment has a price. With a flick of her paintbrush, Isabel creates stunning portraits for a dangerous set of clients, the fair folk. These immortal creatures cannot bake bread or put a pen to paper without crumbling to dust. They crave human craft with a terrible thirst, and they trade valuable enchantments for Isabel's paintings. But when she receives her first royal patron, Rook, the Autumn Prince, Isabel makes a deadly mistake. She paints mortal sorrow in his eyes, a weakness that could cost him his throne and even his life. Furious, Rook spirits... He's not furious, that's a damn lie. Furious, Rook spirits Isabel away to his kingdom to stand trial for her crime. But something is seriously amiss in his world, and they are attacked from every side. With Isabel and Rook depending on each other for survival, their alliance blossoms into trust, and perhaps even love, a forbidden emotion that would violate the fair folk's ruthless laws, rendering both their lives forfeit. What force could Isabel's paintings conjure that is powerful enough to defy the ancient malice of the fairy courts? Isabel and Rook journey along a knife edge of lush world where beauty masks corruption, and the cost of survival might be more frightening than death itself. Alright, so yeah, a couple of things not exactly true, adjacent to being true in this blurb, just to kind of amp it up. For one thing, Rook was not furious. I don't think that man was furious a single time. Peeved maybe, annoyed yes, maybe angry, but furious, no. Which is actually one of the things I like about this book. Because, spoilers, I did enjoy my time with it. Is it a new favorite going to join some other books in the hallowed halls of books that Julian has given 5 stars? Not quite. There are some issues with it. But was it pleasant to read and did I have a great time with it? Yes. I can't believe I waited this long to read it. I just kept thinking that it was going to let me down because everybody's like, it's good, it's good, it's good. Oh, you like it, Julian. As soon as people are assuring me I'll like something, guaranteed it will let me down. But then a patron suggested it and I ran out of excuses. So here we are. So again, I didn't take any notes. I'm just listening to these at work now and just trying to make a review as shortly after I finish it as possible. So you guys know that I love characters, so let's start there. I did really enjoy the main character of this story. Like the blurb said, she is an artist, and I'm happy to see a female lead who is just an artist. She doesn't have any weird fighting abilities that she secretly gained along the way. She's a fucking artist. That's what she does. She spent her life getting good at that. Although I did have one complaint. She's supposed to be 17 years old and also a master at her craft, and I'm like, no. I understand that you wanted to make her 17 so this could be a young adult book, but nothing about this girl reads as 17. She's too skilled, she's very level-headed. This girl is my age. She's 30-something, I'm sorry. And that's fine, she could be that age. It's okay. I hate that books for young adults have to star people who are under 20, or I don't know what happens, but she did not strike me. I forgot. Immediately after I was told that she was 17, I forgot that she was 17 because she does not behave like a 17-year-old. She does not have the skill levels of a 17-year-old. It's just, she behaves like a damn adult. And I just am happy to headcanon her as one, because then it's also slightly less creepy, because we do have the ageless guy falling for the mortal girl, and it feels slightly less creepy if she's not 17. Also, they're supposed to have this like great love, and that great love is also more believable if she's not 17, because 17-year-olds fall in and out of great loves like all the time. But other than that, I really liked her character. She was in love with her art. She was good at what she did. She was sassy and stood up for herself. Decided I need to move my camera so the lighting is a little bit better. She was sassy. She stood up for herself. She didn't take shit from the fairies. She was very clever. She learned how to circumvent all the issues with the fairies that she dealt with, because dealing with the fae can be super, super dangerous. So she is smart. She's the one asking the questions. She doesn't just take any old enchantment they want to give her. She's like, here's my enchantment. Here are the rules. Here are the details. No screwing me over in these ways. And I love her for that. I will talk about her love interest, and then I'm going to talk about, though, the problem that I had overall with the romance in this book, and that's a problem that a lot of people had with the romance in this book. Her love interest is Rook, the Prince of the Autumn Kingdom. Of course it's the Autumn Kingdom, because you gotta be cool. And everybody seems to agree that fall is the coolest season. But anyway, he is a sweetie pie. Quite frankly, I very much enjoyed his character as well. I love that he is not the standard, just grumpy, mean, bullying, psychotic, male character that you see in a lot of like fairy romance stories. Even if he is upset with her, he never goes so far as to be like cruel to her. I guess I could talk a little bit about it now. We might go into it more later. The rules of the fairyland and their emotions are weird and contradicting. They contradict each other, and I don't quite understand, and I don't even know if the author quite had a handle on her own like magic system. And unfortunately, it needed to be at least slightly a hard magic system, because the rules are how the characters like win the day, but the rules about emotions are the weirdest and most contradictory. The reason that she gets into so much trouble is that she paints sorrow in his eyes when she paints his portrait, and fairies cannot feel human emotions, we're told. That is antithetical to all things fairy, and so he's in trouble, and he has to bring her to fairy court to explain herself. That lasts for about 10 seconds before he like stops doing that. We are in her point of view, so we know that she sees actual real sorrow in his eyes, and I kept waiting to find out that he was maybe once human himself, maybe he's only half fae. Like, why does he have human sorrow in his eyes, even though that's not something fairies are supposed to have? And I kept waiting for the explanation, and for it to be a big reveal. And it wasn't. Like, maybe it's implied because he has loved a human before, that has allowed him to feel sorrow, but I don't, like, it never, maybe I missed it. It's possible I missed it. I don't, like, hang on every single syllable of these books, so it's possible I missed where he briefly explained, hey, yeah, I can feel sorrow now because I've been in love before, or something. But I was waiting for it to be like a bigger thing than just the inciting incident, and it never really came up again. I was like, oh, okay. We don't care that he can just feel a human emotion that he's not supposed to be able to feel. Now, maybe the author was trying to do something with, like, the fairies can feel human emotions, they just don't want to. They pretend that they don't. That's like a big like lie that they're all telling themselves. But if that's true, again, it's never interrogated within the story. That's not a plot point. Other than that, weirdness with why can he feel sorrow and why can he feel love? Like, those are human things supposedly, except for sometimes fairies can feel those things. It's not clear. It's got some plot holes there, in my opinion. But anyway, I enjoyed his character very much. He was a great love interest. I love that he wasn't a meanie pants. He was actually kind of a soft boy once you got to know him, and I love me a soft boy. Get out of here with all those grumpy, gruff, I don't like you, I don't like anyone, okay, maybe I just like you. No, he was a sweetheart. He can be badass and a sweetheart at the same time. Boys, it is possible. So I do enjoy both of their characters separately, and I do enjoy them together. The problem is that their romance was not paced correctly, in my opinion. And I'll be honest with you, I would love to see this book do everything that it did without romantic love. For me, this book would be so fantastically powerful and perfect for me if they never had romantic love for each other, but still formed this really, really strong bond as they journeyed through fairyland and faced dangers together. Now, I understand that book's probably not going to sell, and this is just a Julian thing, but I feel like that would be so much more powerful than just once again, the same message we've seen 8 bazillion times: romantic love conquers all. I'm sick of it. I've had it. I've seen enough. By the way, if you want to see some books where romantic love does not conquer all, but friendship and strong relationships platonically conquer all, I have some books that you can read. They are my books, on sale now on Amazon. I also have one with romantic love in it for all of the romantic girlies out there. Anyway, I also didn't hate their romance. Eventually, I did kind of surrender to the fact that they were going to have to be romantically together, and I allowed myself to enjoy them as a couple. However, they moved way too fast. A lot of people in the reviews of this talk about insta-love, and yeah, it totally is. You've got this girl who's so confident and assured, and she's like, I know all of the fairy tricks. I know that they're not really as beautiful as they seem to be. I am not ever gonna fall for like any of this fairy bullshit. And then one hot fairy prince shows up, and she draws his picture, and she's already like, they've barely had interactions that we have been witness to, and she's pining. She's like, this is the last time I will ever see him. And I'm like, bitch, he's just another fairy. You paint fairies all the time. For me, it would have worked so much better if she didn't have this weird attraction to him until they start to form a bond, because for quite a while, they are just traveling around fairyland being pursued by the Wild Hunt, as he was initially trying to get her there for trial, and then stuff kept happening, and so they're in danger, they're injured, there's hurt comfort. I love it, I eat it up, delicious. During that would have been a perfect time for her to start to build romantic feelings towards him. We had the time for that, but instead, for some reason, the author goes with insta-love while she's painting his picture, when you had a perfectly serviceable sequence of events for her to fall into love with him. And I get that she does fall deeper into love with him, and then it takes her a really long time to admit that she's in love with him. Yeah, like, I don't know why the author chose to pace it that way, and just instead of using this very excellent sequence of them being in danger and on the run and having to work together and find out about each other and their worlds, perfect time for her to start to develop feelings, and instead she had already developed them for no reason, because she painted his picture and he was sad. He had sad eyes, sad boy eyes. But yes, I loved that sequence, and then like they went to the fairy court, and I felt like they spent too long there. She's just there in the court vibing with all of these fairies, and yes, it does let us get to know the world a little bit more and get to know some other fairies who honestly I couldn't keep track of. Which one is which? I don't know. Which one is her friend? Which one is her foe? Which one hates her? Which one likes her? I couldn't keep track of them. Possibly because the narrator who was reading the audiobook of this gave them all basically the same voice. The only way I could keep track of the two leads is because the narrator gave Rook the very stereotypical, like if you've heard a woman narrator doing a man's voice in a book, she was doing that exact voice. I really wish that we had dual readers. I really think that Rook needed to have a male narrator reading his lines. I think that would have just been the chef's kiss on this audiobook. But the pacing ground to a halt when they got to like the fairy court. And we had this great momentum going of them just facing danger after danger, and then they have a chance to rest and like bond, and then danger, rest, bond. Perfect pacing for me. And then they get to the fairy court and it grinds to a halt. And then there's some betrayals, and like the end game starts moving, but like I was so frustrated with how the pacing had just slammed into a brick wall that I had a really hard time engaging with the ending. The other reason I think I struggled with the ending, and it took me a while to I had to noodle over this for a while, because I didn't love that ending. Why? And I think it's because the story starts out as such a personal, small story. I mean, this is a single book. It's not even part of a series, so this is the perfect opportunity to have a personal, small story of this girl adventuring into fairyland, dealing with all of that, and yes, falling in love with a fairy prince along the way. But by the ending, we are doing this huge world altering things that are changing the landscape of fairyland in our world forever. And I'm like, that was not the tone of the beginning of the book. And for me, it just didn't work. It felt off. It felt wrong. And I had a really hard time engaging with the ending for that reason. Also, there were things that I felt we were setting up at the beginning of the book that didn't matter at the ending. Like, at the beginning of the book, we hear about how clever she is about fairy enchantments. When she gets enchantments as payment for her work, she's very clever about it. And one of the things that she has is an enchantment on her house that makes it so no one can harm her or her family in her house. And I was like, okay, this is going to be important later. And then we get to the end and she's like, no, it's not strong enough. Okay, I guess. I mean, it's fine. And also, she has two adoptive sisters who had once been goats. And that never mattered to the plot, really. Like, if they had not been goats at one point, nothing would have changed. They could have just been two rambunctious kids. Like, human kids, not goat kids. This feels like a plot point that the author was planning to do something with, and then she just left it in the book. She's like, this is a cool aspect, I'm just gonna leave this here. And I'm like, but what is it doing? Why are they goats? So they're silly and goofy? Are they supposed to be comic relief? I don't get it. I don't get it. Did not get it. And finally, I think I'll talk about the magic and how it contradicted. So a big thing about the fairyland is that there are rules about this fairyland, and I really like that. They have the iron thing, but it's not as big of a thing as it could be, because mostly, yes, iron hurts them, but also things that are crafted. Well, okay, things that are crafted, things that they could do crafts with, I don't completely understand. Like, if they held a paintbrush, would it kill them, or do they have to be trying to paint with it? Rook attempts to cook at one point, and it just about kills him. So, like, where's the line drawn between doing and not doing craft? Kind of unclear, wibbly wobbly, but that doesn't come up so much in the book. I love actually that art is so important in this story. I love a world where my books could kill a king, you know? Or where my art is so wanted by a amazing, like, magical race that they will basically, like, do anything to get it. So valued, so desired. I want to live in that world. Because, I'm sorry, but we artists are magical. We can make something out of nothing but our own imaginations, and everybody's like, ho-hum art. We don't need you, we have AI for that now. So reading this was very cathartic and being like, no, art is valuable, and there's this whole cool race of people that can't even do it. And they just live for our art, and I loved that. But the big thing is the human emotion thing. They can't feel human emotions, apparently, except for when they do. And that's why I wonder if maybe the author was trying to do something with that, and I just wasn't getting it. But, like, yeah, they don't feel like true joy or apparently true despair, but they can be mad. Like, anger is apparently allowed. They can laugh and enjoy themselves. It's just usually for, like, cruel reasons. Like, you know, a fairy would laugh when a kid falls down. But that's still laughter, right? That's still amusement. And of course we've got Rook with his whole definitely feeling actual sorrow and definitely feeling actual romantic love, which, you know, involves other emotions and never really explained. Where is the line? Which are human emotions and which are fairy emotions? Yes, the author does do a good job of making the fairies feel very removed and alien, and I love that she did that, because I am so sick of seeing just, like, pointy ears on a guy, and the only reason he's a fairy is so that he can be a bully and be mean to the main character without ever having to deal with that. You can just dismiss it like, oh, he's a dick because he's a fairy, and you just hand wave that away. This author definitely put in the work of actually making her fairies feel alien, but the rules were confusing and the rules mattered. So I feel like that was my biggest stumbling block as far as, like, world building. If you're gonna say the fairies can't feel human emotions and then have them feeling human emotions, I need to know why. And I wouldn't mind so much, except for it's an important part of the story. But I think overall, I'm done rambling. Got very rambly there, went all over the place. That's what happens when I don't write notes. Overall, enjoyed myself. Was a good time. Had fun. Definitely liked the two lead characters and their building relationship. If they didn't have such a sweet building relationship, I would not have been as into this book, I don't think. There are definitely things, if I was writing this story, that I would change, but that doesn't make it a bad book, and I definitely think if you have shared similar taste to me with other books, that you'll probably like this one too. Or you've probably already read it, because everybody has already read this book. I am probably literally the last person, except for people who are just now learning how to read this book. So now I will be moving on to the next book suggested to me by a patron, which I think is more meant for me to tear apart ruthlessly rather than like. So you can look forward to that. There are also tons of other reviews on this channel, positive, negative, whatever, go check them out. You're bound to find something else that you have heard of on this channel that I've reviewed. And of course I have a Patreon if you want to boss me around or partake of any of the other awesome patron awards, or if you just want to support the channel and you're not really into that Patreon thing, you can find me on Ko-fi and leave me a tip there. And if you really want to support me and get something out of it, and you also happen to be a writer, I am a developmental editor, and I can help you make your books better and tell you where maybe your pacing isn't working, or question things like your world building. Do you want me to poke holes in your book so you can fill them back up with spackle and make the best book that you possibly can? I'm on Fiverr. Go ahead and contact me. I might have some openings, plus I can work with you and your budget, so talk to me over there. But that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, for joining me in my lovely bower. It's a beautiful day. I just want to stay out here, but I gotta go to work in a little while, and that's a bummer. But I will see all of you again next time with whatever it is I happen to be doing next time. Bye!
I'm already late! Late for what? I'm going on an adventure!
Lots of things in life are an adventure, like being my patron. Patrons like Sarah M., Kat, 78 kilograms of shade, I think, Veda, Ingrid, Roma, Pansing Pony, Julius the Nice Dragon, Haley, Sam, Kira, Kohikaru, Mooney, Maria, Kristen, Bear, Jojo Bookish, Lauren, Robin, Ursula, Caitlin, KJ, LaFone, Amanda, Celia, Alyssa, Rita, Deborah, Afra, Melissa, Swamp Goblin Waifu, Sophia, Merween, Kit, Hidden Glade, Light Julie, Belle Sterling, Patrick, Anne Sophie, Callison, Ray, Shelby, Zaire, Jesper, Rennie, Scribbling Cat, Savvy, Jenny, Amanda, Lisa, and Sarah.
Everything appears to be in order. Welcome, Master Baggins.